Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to take a look at a computer I personally love. It has a very unique design and has always been a personal favorite of mine. It is the PowerMac G4 Cube. Now, the Cube came about from a desire from Apple and Steve Jobs to have a computer in their product range between an iMac and the more powerful PowerMac G4 Tower. In the announcement for the Cube, Steve Jobs touted that what Apple had learned making the original iMac played a role in Apple being able to make a desktop computer so small. It was heavily advertised that the Cube had all the power of a larger G4 Tower, but in a small 8-inch cube. The G4 Cube was released in July of 2000 for a price of $1,799. That didn't include a monitor, of course, so if you wanted one of those, specifically the 15-inch Apple Studio display, that would cost you another $999. Unfortunately for Apple and Steve Jobs, who is said to have loved the computer, it did not sell well. The thought was that the fanless, unique, and futuristic design would drive sales, but that didn't happen. The intended market for the Cube was also a bit nebulous. It was priced around the same as a PowerMac G4 Tower, which was a more powerful, expandable computer which appealed more to professional users. And then on the other side, consumers looking to buy a typical home computer would just buy the cheaper iMac. There was just no obvious home for the Cube.
So the Cube found itself in a place where it didn't have any huge commercial appeal to any specific group, and because of this, the Cube was only manufactured for about a year before Apple discontinued it. But that doesn't mean it's not fun to look at, so let's take a closer look at this Cube and see what it has to offer. Physically, it is a cube suspended inside of acrylic glass. It's got 4 solid sides. On the top of the Cube here, the largest feature is this grating, which is where the heat would rise. This is a fanless design, which was a large selling point of the computer. Also have another small air vent here. Got the power button and the CD or DVD drive. The bottom of the computer is where all the input and outputs are. So starting on the left, we have an Ethernet port. We have 2 FireWire ports, 2 USB ports, a port for a 56K modem, and then here we have the video card with a connector for the Apple Studio display and a standard VGA adapter, and then the power adapter. One reason Apple was able to make this computer small is because it does not have an internal power supply. Instead, you had this very large brick you had to put somewhere to power it. Now, the G4 Cube has a fairly interesting and unique way of getting access to the inside of it. To gain access, you would have to turn the computer over onto its top. After it's sitting on its top, you would come and press this handlebar, releasing it, and from there, you can pull the computer out of its case. And now we have access to some of the internals of the Cube. Some things are fairly easy to access, like the RAM, which is right here. And next to the RAM is a video card. And then over on this side, we have the airport card and its antennas. There's another one on the other side. And behind that plate is the CD drive. And then we can see the hard drive. Specs wise, the Cube came with a 450 MHz PowerPC G4 processor. Later models did have a 500 MHz G4 processor, 128 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte hard drive, a CD-RW CD drive, and a Rage 128 16 megabyte video card. Now, the Cube does not offer any internal expandability. You can upgrade the RAM, the video card, and the hard drive, but unlike its bigger brother, the G4 Tower, you can't add anything else in here. And that lack of expandability is one of the reasons that people did not want to buy these at the time. And here's a size comparison between the Cube and its bigger brother, G4 Tower. And since the prices were so similar between the two, most people would opt to just go for one of these instead because they're more powerful and they had more upgrade potential. But I'll always love the Cube. There's just something about its interesting and unique design. I think it just draws people's attention because of how unique and different it is from any other computer of its time, and even today. Although the G4 Cube ended up being a commercial failure, it didn't exactly deter Apple from continuing on with their idea of a small desktop PC. And a few years after the Cube, Apple would release the Mac Mini. I personally used this G4 Cube through part of junior high and all my high school years, and I'm sure there's other people who use these far longer than I ever did. There's just something about the uniqueness of it, whether you like the design or hate it, it's definitely different. Thank you everyone for watching this quick little look at the G4 Cube. There's definitely much more that can be said about it. I'd love to look at it more and play around with it in future videos. Thank you for sticking around and watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.